Hi, my name is Ada Dindo, and at EBTC I run Internationalization program. Today I have a pleasure to speak with Adarsh Sharma, Managing Director of Primus Partners, about internationalization and support of state governments when it comes to collaborations. So my first question is, Adarsh, please tell us, what is the state government support for collaboration when it comes to innovation, research, new technologies?
Ada, thank you so much for the introduction and thank you so much for this opportunity. You understand, there has been a lot of traction and, as we collectively sort of step out of the pandemic, both at a center and at a state level, there have been, there is a sense of recognition, that there is a need to think different. The conventional running of states is not really necessarily gonna work, or rather, the kind of stimulus that is needed is beyond just fiscal stimulus. And that's the reason why you see launch of schemes like the performance-linked incentive or target sectors that they believe are going to be the growth engine in the coming decade. And also, tractions or sort of sectors that are going to bring in fresh investments, but at the same time keeping in mind the larger sort of international landscape in mind. So whether it's to do with environment, sustainability, there's a lot of discussion on green energy and moving into sort of alternate fuel space. And I think this is all fueled by whatever's happening in and around us. Right? There's plenty in the news already. And therefore, incentives aside, I think there are a lot of support infrastructure development that the that government has initiated also. And I think that's a welcome move, because it's not, rather, it's not the effect immediately. You would see them in the years to come, really, So you have to see this as a stage probably 10 or 15 years from now.
Well, exactly. What I wanted to ask you about, what's the support from the government, from the state government, if I would run a European company, what can I expect from the government, but also how you, as the consultancy firm and the legal firm, how you can help the company and support the internationalization and access in India.
As a consulting firm, for example, Primus Partners in this case, we have been supporting a lot of clients who are looking at, or rather considering India as a market, right? And as you know, when you say India, the investment invariably lands up in a state, and that's where the investor really goes and picks up a location, sets up his or her business. Now, the way the so-called central schemes that have been introduced, there are sort of episodes of which that have been or offshoots of those schemes that have been created at a state level as well, whether that's in the form of fiscal or non-fiscal incentives, right? But I think, another thing, and again, it sort of dovetails from the answer that I gave you, which is beyond sort of giving just fiscal incentives to these investors, we are actually looking at, say, for example, if European investors are looking at entering the country or a specific state, you're looking at dedicated country desks, which are today, or rather us facilitating dialogues between the dedicated country desks and the investors, to sort of, one is help them resolve their queries, but also most importantly, borrow from the institutional sort of information that's available with us in terms of especially knowing what not to do, and then focusing on really, what we really need to be doing, and sort of getting the entire bureaucracy and the investor in the same room and have this dialogue hashed out. And that's why you'll see, there is an increase in terms of so-called custom packages being passed on to these investors, because today they understand, the like I said, the normal is not really going to work. You're looking at something beyond. The investors smartened up as well.
So you suggest also the specific states, and when it comes to government, they pay a big attention to ease of doing business. Yeah. So how do you think it helps, and how it could attract European companies to invest in particular states? What is the support it can be received from the governments when it comes to ease of doing business?
Interesting question, Ada. I think the whole notion of so-called ease of doing business has to be demystified. And I believe, in the past, few years, the entire machinery has tried to do that. The way sort of ease of doing business started was more about integrating services of the government that are attuned to the investor on a common platform and otherwise, right? Typically using technology and otherwise. But there were certain sort of ancillaries to that, and those discussions have been more in lines of things like ease of exiting a business or ease of being in business, and all of this, to my mind, sort of comprises the larger ecosystem of ease of doing business. And if you see, there are those the legislations that have been passed recently in the parliament also, and then in the reforms that have been carried out at all levels, not just center but at the state as well, uh, and they go to as basic as the way licenses are issued for some of these operations to run, and the typical turnaround time, which has reduced considerably as well. So I think these are the kind of indicators that you're actually looking at picking up, and that's probably one of the reasons why even during a COVID situation, India was amongst or rather amongst the highest sort of attraction for all things foreign direct investment, so to say.
Thank you, Adarsh, for the conversation. Thank you so much for the conversation today.
Thank you so much, Ada. Really appreciate it.